Charles Owen from Paladin. It's glad to meet you. Glad you're here today. Welcome to the Paladin University. It is a beautiful spring day here in Central Oregon, and we're going to be going through a presentation today on protecting your profits with Paladin. Probably one of the more underutilized and probably more powerful features within Paladin, where you can just set it and go, and it will manage your margins for you. All right, so I first want to check if I can just get a raise of hands. I just want to make sure you can hear me, you can see me, and you can see my screen. You should see the screen protecting your profits. And if I can just get a couple of hands up, that'd be great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. You can turn those off now. Well, again, welcome. I want to remind everybody that this is being recorded, so you can view it at any time in the future. If you do get interruptions while you're watching this webinar, you can go ahead and just walk away and come back and pick up the Slack later on today. It's posted on the webinar recordings within 24 hours. So with that, let's go ahead and get started now. So we'll just jump into the presentation. What you're going to learn we're going to go over some of the benefits of minimum margins, right? And then also how to set up the minimum margins, where to set them up. You know, there's a store-wide, there's a department, and there's rich reward options and opportunities for setting minimum margins, right? And different ways to apply the minimum margins. This is probably the most important thing. Once you get them set, now what happens? So we're going to go over the manual discounts, sales and promotion, trade discounts, prompt payment discounts, the net pricing rule, and then also we'll get into a little bit about how to verify your margins with Profit Analyst. That is what we're going to learn today. So let's go ahead and continue here. So benefits of minimum margin are, number one, it automates your margin protection. So wouldn't it be great just to know and trust in a system that it doesn't matter who's at the helm, who's doing transactions or checking folks out, you're always going to be protecting your margins. I think that's really important. It helps protect the bottom line, of course, keeps discounts in check, right? If you get a discount at checkout, you know, the cashiers may elect to give a discount on an item that has a dent in the can, for example, just a simple example. And that is something they can do now, and they can do that, you know, with or without manager approval and not pierce the threshold of profitability, which is the key, right? It allows cashiers to offer discounts while preserving profitable margins. And the end game here, it enhances the consumer shopping experience, right? If you don't have to go and flag down a manager to approve a discount, but yet the manager doesn't want you to sell things, or the owner doesn't want you to sell things that is under their profitability, then you know, all that's handled by setting your minimum margins. So these are some of the benefits of having the minimum margins. You might have them today. You might have them set. You might know exactly everything they're doing and how they work. Hopefully there's some additional information you'll obtain from this. I think there's going to be other things that you'll find fascinating in this presentation that I learned about after being here for 12 plus years. It seems like I learn something every day with Paladin. There's so much to it. So let's continue on to how to set minimum margins. So we've got here is a store-wide minimum margin. This means that you set it one time and it's across the board, right? This is the default. If you go in to your configuration under File Setup, and in this case you go into Min Margin, you can set your minimum margin for your store. Now, if you're multiple store, you can set a different margin for each store. But in the case of a single store, you can just put your minimum margin in. If you do not put a minimum margin in, obviously, it's going to be at zero, meaning you can discount to your heart's content. And that is not what we want. If you do not have your minimum margin set, then I would recommend that you go in today and set it. And give it, you know, if you want to give a lot of wiggle room, you can set it to a low margin, you know, 20%, 25%. 30% plus is the normal, but this minimum margin will apply to all features that use minimum margin, except when it's superseded by a depart minimum margin. So minimum margins by department. Here's the what we just talked about here. So you can set the minimum margin by department. And when you pull up File Setup Department tab, you're going to see all your different departments. And you're going to be able to set things like non-taxable department, state, county, city. You can do other things where you can set the level of your reorder to a higher number or a lower number. And then the last thing you find here is minimum margin percentage. Now, by default, this is going to have a -1. That just means it isn't set. Doesn't mean it's going to give a -1 minimum margin. It just isn't set. It means null or not touched, right? So if it's not touched, if it has a -1, that means your minimum margin set on the prior screen, your global minimum margin or system-wide minimum margin, will take precedence. However, if you do put a minimum margin in here, it will override whatever that precedence has been set for your overall minimum margin. So do know this. Now, why do we have it to where you can set different minimum margins? Well, because you have different margins and different profit levels on different types of items. You know, your lumber and building materials might be a little lower, right, versus your hardware items or over-the-counter items or whatever it might be. You can have different minimum margins and set that. And it will know what department that's in as long as you have department set, which is a requirement in the inventory system. To continue on, there's one last place where you can set rich rewards points, rich rewards minimum margins, and that is under rich rewards. So setting a minimum margin in rich rewards enables you to limit the amount of points that are given for those rewards. Now, there are two settings here. One under, they're both under File Setup Rewards tab. One says Enable Margin Check. That just means comply with the margins that are set either at the department or the store-wide area, and just respect those minimums. Or you can override those completely and say disallow points on margins less than 25%, regardless of what's set in the department and or the store-wide area. All right. So yeah, just you can go ahead and set that, hit save, you're good to go. Moving on. How do you apply minimum margins? This is, you know, you've done most of the work if you've got these settings already put in. You've got the store-wide minimum margin set. You now have the department minimum margin set. If you're using rich rewards, you've got that set. So here are the different ways you can apply it, right? First and foremost, I think it's really important to know that cashiers can have approval to discount items at checkout. And again, if you do not have a minimum margin set and you do not have you know, manager override or manager approval required for discounts, it's going to let your cashiers discount pretty much down to below cost if they wanted to. So it's very important to set your minimum margin, and then you can give some leeway. This gives leeway to the cashiers to make some decisions without requiring a manager to run over there and approve it. In this case, when you reduce the price of an item, meaning you just go right in, you scan an item, and then you go to that price field and you put in a different price. In this case, the example we see here, the regular price is $1.99. The price that was entered was 50 cents. Now the system's saying, you know, timeout, hold on a minute. You know, the regular price is $1.99. My minimum allowable margin is set at 71 cents. How is that set? Again, depending on whether it's a department that's overriding the store-wide or it's the store-wide minimum margins that's kicking in here, it's going to show you and not let the cashier pierce that threshold of profitability and go under that. Now, does 71 cents mean that they're losing money? No. Is 71 cents the cost? No. Is 71 cents the minimum allowable margin that you will accept in the store? Yes, that's all it is. But in this case, they entered 50 cents. So it's saying, look, okay, we recognize that you entered a number below the minimum allowable price. So you can honor this as long as you get a manager approval. Otherwise, you're only able to go down to 71 cents. So if they wanted to accept 71, they would just hit F8 or minimum price. You see that here on the screen. Or they can go hunt down a manager and have them put in manager password, or if the person at checkout is a manager, they can just put in their code. Now you can always see discounts, right? There's an end of day report that you can get that shows all of the discounts by salesperson. And you're able to go in and see and just check it out and make sure it's copacetic. All right. Moving on. So manual discounts at checkout. This is another form of discounting. Rather than going into the price field and changing the price, there is an F4 discount button on the bottom. If you highlight the item you're on, you press F4, it gives you an opportunity to pick a percentage or put a custom percentage in. And you'll see this little purple arrow that points to the respect minimum margin is checked. Now that can be checked by default and not be able to be changed except by a manager. And that is under the File Setup Invoice Stored tab, as you can see in the bottom bullet here. Select Invoice F4, Discount Respects Minimum Margin checkbox, and save. And that will always secure that in and lock it in. So that is very important to know. If you go ahead and pick a percentage that is greater than, and it pierces that threshold of profitability, it doesn't tell you, it just brings it down as low as it can, right? It brings it down to the point where you say, okay, that's all I'm going. I'm not going any lower. It's hitting your minimum margin, and that's it, right? Now, if you have discount requires manager approval, it will in this case, it will warn you that it's a discount. But in the case that it, as long as it's respecting the minimum margin, not going below that, it should be okay. All right, sales and promotions pricing plans. So this is another place you can apply discount or respect minimum margin. So you'll notice here, if you go to, it's under the File Setup Pricing Plan tab. There is when you put in a pricing plan or a promotion, you can select the Apply to All Transactions, and then down below that, you can check the Respect Minimum Margin button. Now, Apply to All Transaction means it's promotion, right? It's going out to everybody. Anybody that comes in your store and buys something, they are going to get whatever this promotion is. Below that, if you check minimum margin, it's only going to let it discount it only to the minimum margin and not below. So if you have a sales set up that actually wants to price it lower than the minimum margin, it won't let it. It's just going to bring it to that level, and that's it. So if you've ever created a promotion and you wonder, well, how come these top three are getting a 10% discount, but this bottom item isn't getting a 10% discount? Well, that's more than likely because you had respect minimum margin checked, and that particular item, it was trying to go beneath that, and it will not let you go beneath that if you check that field. Trade prompt payment discount. So what's a trade discount? So a trade discount is a promotion. It's a pricing plan without the Apply to All Transaction checkbox checked, and we're going to see that momentarily here. But it's basically a discount that has to be applied to a customer or an employee or an owner or a contractor or whoever in one of your good customers. You can apply these trade discounts to. It's basically a private promotion that is assigned to an individual. Now, you can have a trade discount for a contractor or for a customer that comes up at checkout, right? It just comes up, it says, okay, your price is this amount, and it's going to respect that, provided it doesn't pierce the threshold of profitability if you have the respect minimum margin activated. So what is trade prompt payment discount? That is a trade discount that doesn't get applied at point of sale. If you want to incentivize your customers to pay you on time, what you can do is under the customer tab, under the customer modules credit tab, there's a spot there under prompt payment discount that says trade discounts. By applying the trade discounts, what it's going to do is it's going to apply the discount, but not at checkout. It's going to give a full-on list price or retail price receipt at checkout, but on the statement at the end of the month, it's going to apply that discount. So it's a really incredible way that you can give customized discounts, trade discounts to your customers, but yet give them that discount if they pay on time. It's very handy. It's great, and it works really, really well. Another advantage is it gives if it's a contractor, for example, it gives them an opportunity to have a retail receipt to hand to their customers and buying products, and then get a little kicker at the end of the month when they get their trade discount applied. That's what that is. So if you pick trade discounts, is there a place to check respect minimum margin in the customer tab? No. The respect minimum margin is going to be tied to the pricing plan that applies to this trade discount. The pricing plan has on it respect minimum margin, and then it will respect the minimum margin. Without it, it will not. Now we have apply trade discounts to a customer. So this is what I was referring to. So if you do not check that box in the pricing plans that it says apply to all transactions, it will be a hidden, if you will, pricing plan or promotion that you must assign to an individual or a company. And in this case, you just bring up the customer module, you click on F7, adjust pricing plans, and you just grab the available pricing plan list, pricing plans that you've created and customized, and you can just send them over by adding them into this selected pricing plan for this customer, individual, or company. And then you just hit finish, and it applies that. Now, only pricing plans that do not have, as I mentioned, apply to all transactions will appear. And then secondly, will it respect minimum margin? Yes, if that pricing plan is checked where it says respect minimum margin. If not, it will not. Percentage prompt payment discount is another option to incentivize customers to pay on time. Rather than applying a custom discount or a custom promotion to an individual, we just across the board say, okay, they're going to get 10% off at the time of statement run, and providing they pay on time, we will honor that discount. Now, there is a spot to hit respect minimum margin here, to click on that box, because I think it's the only place that you can apply minimum margin to this discount percentage for the statement at the end of the month. Now you can determine how many days after the month that you allow them to be late. For example, 10th of the month, 15th of the month, and so on. And you just go under File Setup Receivables tab, disable prompt payment discount after day of month, and you put in the calendar day, right? So there you have it. And the respect minimum margin will respect the minimum margin. That is whatever's set up in the department first, and then the blanket or the store-wide minimum margin. That's the percentage it's going to look at when it's generating this statement at the end of the month and applying the 10% discount. Does that mean that 10% discount may not be 10%? Absolutely. Because if it pierces the threshold of profitability, it's going to stop there, and it may mean that that 10% discount is a 5% or an 8% or 9.9% discount, but not necessarily a 10%. All right, so let's go to the last piece here. It's not really, it's related to protecting your margins, but not really to the minimum margin. This is a net pricing rule, and it basically trumps everything else, right? So if you have a pricing plan or a discount or promotion set up, and the item in inventory is set to a net pricing, it's not going to respect it. In addition, the rich rewards points won't be given as well for this item. Let's take water heaters, for example. You set that to net. Doesn't matter if they're in a group that's getting a discount or if they're in a promotion for that month or that week. If you have net selected, it's going to completely override all of that and not give any discount. You can also do it from the invoice screen. So the first example shows you the inventory module with the net box checked on a particular item. To the right, you have your invoice and quote screen. And there you also have a net checkbox. If you ever wondered what that's for and you've never checked it, we'll check it if you have an item that's discounted or applied to a trade discount or promotion. And you check it, it's going back to whatever the default retail price is, period. Now, are there exceptions? Exceptions? Yes, there are. Managers can override net pricing. All right. Rich rewards points. So here you can, we talked about how we set this up. There's no other way really to show it here. So I just re-showing this, this image again. But we can set minimum margins for earning rewards points or disallowing rewards points below a particular margin. So this is yet another place to apply minimum margins to rich rewards points. Again, this does require that you have the rich rewards program, and if you're in a different rewards programs like repeat rewards or ACE or best or true value, whatever it might be, doesn't apply. This is for the internal Paladin rich rewards program. How to verify margins with Profit Analysts. So this is the final screen here. I think if you don't know about this feature, it's one that you need to learn about if you're a manager and or owner of the store. It lets you, during the invoicing process, just very quickly by either right-clicking and selecting Profit Analyst, or you can select Alt-A. It will bring up this Profit Analyst box that you see in the middle of the page here. And if whatever your mouse is sitting on, or whatever the red bar is on top of in the invoice, it's going to be your first line, your current line. In this case, the cost is $5, the profit's $100, and the margin is 66.7. So this is what it's saying. Now the bottom one is the invoice, and it's saying that the cost is $62. You have $119 profit on this particular item. So not sure if these numbers are right. They should be, but what it's saying here is on the invoice line, the second line, that is your aggregate for the entire invoice. You might have 200, 500 items in this invoice, and at any time when you select the Profit Analyst, it's going to tell you, what are you making on this deal, right? Are you in a place where you can negotiate, right? So let's say you're sitting across from a contractor, for example, and they're trying to get the best rate, and OSB is going up and they don't want to pay that for it. Well, that's great. We can sell you some items under our cost to win the bid, but yet you're still preserving the overall margin of the invoice itself. So this really puts you in the driver's seat. This is a great way to verify those margins. So if you are not familiar with this tool and you want to use it, if you are not a manager, you will need to be added to add this permission, and that's under the File Setup Employees tab, which only folks with administrative rights can do. Once you set that person up or yourself up to see the Profit Analyst, then just in any invoice, press Alt-A when you're sitting on a particular line item, and it will tell you what the current margin is, the profit, and the cost of not only each item, but the overall invoice. So this is just a quick way to check and verify things. If you've got minimum margins kicking in and it's not letting you discount, through those promotions, you can just highlight that item, click on Alt-A, and now you can see, oh, that's right, look at that. It's going down. It's only going down to 30% margin, so it won't pierce that threshold, unless I manually change the price or uncheck that box on that particular promotion. Okay, so there is a number of different places in the knowledge base to get more information on this. If you go to portal.paladinpos.com, if you're just coming in from outside, if you're coming in from the Paladin system, click on the help button at the very top of the screen. A little type text up there says help, and drop down. You can go directly to knowledge base and also directly to webinars. This webinar will be posted, like I said, within the next 24 hours, and it will be added there. We do have a webinar currently on the F4 discounting item button. So we talk about the F4 discount. That was when we had a new feature. That new feature came out probably a few years ago. But how to set minimum margin for departments in there, how to set percentage discounts for customers, how to apply trade discounts to customers, and how to set a prompt payment discount in the customer module, and then about profit analysts. So these are some of the help tools, self-help tools that you can go and review if you need more information. Now, before I get into questions and answers, I wanted to promote that we do have, and this is one that you just can't miss, whether you sit in for the live webinar or you look at it later, it's really important. We're going to show you what's new in Paladin. So there's a 2021 A release. It will be shown, the webinar will be on May 11th at 9 a.m. So again, you can sign up for that if you just go to portal.paladinpos.com/webinars. There'll be a button to click on. If you're in Paladin itself, on the splash screen when you first go into Paladin, you should be able to see that as well, where you can sign up for this webinar. I encourage everybody, and thank you so much, all of you who are attending today and actually taking time to learn more about Paladin, because that's what it's all about, investing the time to learn about these new features. It's important for you to understand that you can and will increase your efficiencies in your store if you continue to embrace Paladin, the tools that we have in Paladin, and learn about the new tools that we're putting in Paladin. And if you haven't already, oh my gosh, if you're one of the main suppliers that has access, we now have access to looking at the warehouse and seeing what's in stock, which is really important during this challenging time where your fill rates are much lower than normal. You have different opportunities to do that on the item itself within inventory or invoicing or POs. You can click on F7 and see what's in stock in your primary supplier. And those are suppliers that you have EDI with, or electronic data interchange with. If you have multiple, you're going to see multiple up there, and it's going to show you what's in the warehouse and what isn't. More importantly, when you generate your suggested orders or purchase orders, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a button to see what's in the warehouse. And what that does is split up your PO into 3 groups: what's not available, what's partially available, and what's full on available. Check out that feature. That's just one of the little tidbits of information that you get when you sit in on these new feature webinars. So as always, it's been a pleasure. You've got different resources here: Retail Science, the Paladin Store, the webinars, the self-help tools, and such. Again, I hope this was helpful to you. I really appreciate your time sitting in on this. God bless you all, and have a great day. And as things get back to normal, we're just thankful that we're getting through all this. So thank you guys. Have a great day. Take care.